Hello, Spoiled Vision movie recaps. Today, we'll delve into the Italian fantasy superhero film, The Invisible Boy. Brace yourselves for spoilers. The movie kicks off by introducing Michele Silenzi, a young boy pedaling to his school in Trieste, Italy, clutching a €50 note earmarked for a costume to wear at a party. At school, he's seated behind his longtime crush, Stella. Their classroom routine is disrupted by the arrival of Giovanna, a police officer who also happens to be Michele's mother. She's there to inquire about a missing student and urges the class to inform the police if they have any information. Following her departure, Michele experiences a nosebleed and rushes to the restroom. There, his tormentors, who have been bullying him, coerce him into surrendering all his money. Crestfallen, he returns home. With just a few pennies left, he decides to buy a costume nonetheless. Michele visits a rather shabby store and requests a superhero outfit. The shopkeeper provides him with a skin-tight jumpsuit and a rather subpar cape, insisting it's a Chinese superhero costume. Michele, though unimpressed, makes the purchase. When Giovanna returns home from work and encounters Michele in his costume, he refuses to attend the party. Feeling self-conscious, she reassures him, asserting that he looks great, and encourages him to go. At the party, Michele has a good time and even engages in conversation with Stella. However, things take a sour turn when his bullies show a video of Stella on the street, claiming it was found on Michele's phone, accusing him of stalking her. Embarrassed and humiliated, Michele retreats to the bathroom and locks himself in. His classmates bang on the door, pleading for him to come out. Frustrated, Michele wishes he were invisible, and coincidentally, the lights go out. In the next scene, we witness Michele making an escape through the bathroom window and returning home. The following morning, he awakens to his barking dog. Paying little heed to it, he proceeds to the bathroom to brush his teeth. However, when he gazes into the mirror, Michele is flabbergasted to find that only his robe and the brush are visible. His body is entirely invisible in the mirror. Panicking, he removes his robe, and his mother enters the room, completely overlooking him, confirming that only Michele can see himself. As she looks around the room, Michele hastily scribbles a note explaining that he's left for school early and leaves it on the bed for Giovanna to find. After exiting the room, she calls Michele's phone and an invisible Michele answers, assuring her that he's fine. In a state of uncertainty, Michele opts to wear long-sleeved clothing, concealing every inch of his body. He goes to school and secretly observes Stella from a distance. He also notices his tormentor and concocts a plan to teach him a lesson for the relentless harassment he endured. Michele sheds his clothes and enters the school unseen. During class, he seizes the bully's paintball gun and turns it on the teacher, leading to the bully's suspension. Michele then ventures into the girls' changing room, where he covertly observes them undressing. However, a towel suddenly lands on him, exposing his silhouette to everyone. At that moment, his powers begin to wane, rendering him visible again. The girls scream upon discovering a naked Michele concealed beneath the towel. The following day, Michele attends class, where a psychologist named Basili delivers a lecture on teenage mental health. Given the recent runaways among his classmates, Michele believes it's essential to comprehend the adolescent mindset. While listening to the lecture, his hands begin to glow, and suddenly, they vanish. Fortunately, the class concludes and he hastily departs before anyone can witness his disappearance. At home, he wraps himself from head to toe and finds his little sister Candela in his room. Michele instructs her to go downstairs while facing the wall. A suspicious Candela pretends to leave by opening and closing the door. Michele, without verifying, starts undressing. When he finally turns around, Candela shrieks in terror, seeing her invisible brother. Michele calms her down and informs her that his costume has granted him superpowers. Meanwhile, at the police station, psychiatrist Basili collaborates with Giovanna in the investigation of the missing children. Giovanna believes they might have been kidnapped, but Basili contends that their rebellious behavior is typical for their age. Upon Giovanna's return home, Michele remains invisible. She converses on the phone, inadvertently revealing to Michele that he is adopted, a revelation that surprises and hurts him. Michele walks away from the house and settles on a nearby swing. As he swings, Stella arrives and mistakenly believes Michele is a ghost. Unfazed, she befriends him and communicates by crafting a smiling face in the sand. The two arrange to meet again. After Stella departs, Michele notices a nearby man who appears to be staring at him, even though he's invisible. The man walks away with the aid of a stick, indicating he is blind. Later that night, Michele pays a visit to Stella's house. Stella is thrilled to have an invisible friend, and their connection grows stronger. They share a kiss, but just then, Michele's powers start to fade, prompting him to flee before Stella can see his face. Subsequently, Stella is alone in her gymnastics class when a needle pierces her back, causing her to lose consciousness. Meanwhile, Michele resolves to confide in Stella about his identity as the Invisible Boy. Accompanied by his dog, he heads to her gymnastics class. As he arrives at the building, he spots a masked man carrying Stella. Michele launches an attack on the man, and his dog bites the man's hand. Despite their efforts, the man manages to escape with Stella. Later, the police arrive at the scene and deduce that the missing children have not run away, but have been abducted. Stella awakens in an unfamiliar facility with wires attached to her head, and psychiatrist Basili is there, interrogating her. It becomes clear that Basili is the mastermind behind the kidnappings. They subject Stella to various tests before confining her to a cell, where she discovers two of her previously missing friends. The following day, Michele finds himself alone on a nearby beach when the blind man from the previous encounter reappears before him. This time, the man astoundingly answers Michele's questions before he can even pose them, as if he can read minds. When Michele questions the man's identity, he discloses that his name is Andrige and that he is Michele's father. Skeptical and accusing Andrige of lying, Michele prompts his father to share his story. Andrige recounts his past as an ordinary man from a small Russian town until a catastrophic nuclear explosion struck, resulting in the death of many and causing permanent genetic mutations in others. These mutations granted unique superhuman abilities, including flight, telepathy, invisibility, and more. These individuals became known as specials and were conscripted into a military camp called the Division to be weaponized. However, the Division exploited their powers relentlessly, leading to their gradual weakening with each use. An unfortunate side effect was that everyone became infertile, except for Andrige and Michele's mother. The couple gave birth to Michele, the first special child, but immediately after his birth, he was taken away. Fearing for Michele's safety, Andrige and his wife managed to escape with their son. Nonetheless, the Division pursued them relentlessly, resulting in Michele's mother's death. Realizing that Michele wasn't safe with him, Andrige, with the power to read minds, left the infant at Giovanna's doorstep after confirming her benevolence through her thoughts. Now, the Division has learned of the special child's existence in the town, leading them to kidnap children and subject them to tests to determine if they possess special abilities. After absorbing the revelation of his true origin, Michele is left stunned. He struggles to fully believe it, but Andrige informs him that they don't have much time for discussion, as a nearby fisherman has grown suspicious and called the police. Andrige provides Michele with a suit that can turn invisible along with his body, and then he erases the fisherman's memory before departing. Soon after, the police arrive, with Basili in tow. Giovanna discloses to Basili that Michele is adopted, piquing Basili's interest, as he suspects Michele might be the special child. Basili offers to escort Michele home. During their journey, Michele notices a hand injury on Basili, exactly where his dog had bitten Stella's kidnapper. Suspicion flares within Michele, and he attempts to flee. However, it becomes apparent that Basili has locked all the doors and intends to abduct him. Michele dashes into a room and disrobes, turning invisible. He successfully evades Basili's pursuit. On the streets, Michele spots his bully, Ivan, on his bicycle. He sits behind Ivan and urgently instructs him to ride away. Nervously, Ivan complies. Upon reaching a safe location, Michele unveils himself to Ivan and shares the harrowing truth about their classmates' abductions. Meanwhile, Stella and her companions spot a ventilation opening in the ceiling. They stack up, allowing Stella to climb out. As they elude the guards, Stella ascends a tower and reaches a searchlight. Believing that her invisible friend is searching for her, she forms a smiling face on the light and beams it into the sky. Michele observes the cheerful signal and comprehends Stella's message. In tandem with Ivan, they follow the light. However, upon their arrival, Stella is captured by the guards. Ivan causes an electrical malfunction using his paintball gun, while the invisible Michele infiltrates the facility. He encounters Basili and his cohorts monitoring Giovanna and Andrade, who have joined forces in their quest to locate Michele. Continuing deeper inside, Michele incapacitates a guard and, wielding his gun, coerces another guard to open the cell containing Stella and the others. After freeing them and trapping the guards inside, Michele finally reveals himself to his astonished friends. Although the boys contemplate fleeing, Stella insists on rescuing an elderly man she had glimpsed locked in another room. She and Michele set out to save him, but Stella deceives them by taking the man to the villains and aiming a gun at Michele. She abruptly loses consciousness, and the elderly man behind her begins speaking. It turns out that he possesses the power of mind control and has been manipulating Basili and Stella to lure Michele. He summons a submarine and places Michele and Stella inside, venturing into the sea. At this critical moment, Andrade and Giovanna arrive at the location and reunite with Ivan. Unbeknownst to them, the building has been rigged to explode imminently. Swiftly, they rescue the two abducted children and Basili from inside the building. Andrade delves into Basili's mind, uncovering that someone was controlling him. They make a hasty retreat from the premises just before the building explodes into fragments. Back in the submarine, Michele discovers his telekinetic abilities and unleashes chaos within the vessel. Employing his newfound powers, he manages to eliminate the adversaries and secure his and Stella's safety. They eventually return to the shore, where a crowd eagerly awaits them. Michele confidently showcases his invisibility to the onlookers, displaying his powers. Andrade informs Michele that they must erase everyone's memories to evade pursuit by the division. Michele complies and shares a farewell kiss with Stella. After erasing the memories of those present, Andrade departs, promising Michele that he will return. With their memories erased, everyone resumes their ordinary lives. The scene transitions to a location in Russia. Surprisingly, Michele's mother, previously presumed dead, was merely wounded during the encounter. She had defeated the division at that time, and now reigns over it. In truth, she orchestrated the mission to retrieve Michele. This formidable woman stands in opposition to the normal people who regard individuals with unique abilities as freaks. In a final revelation, a guard informs her that despite losing Michele, they have located his twin sister Natasha. A flashback reveals that on that fateful day, Andrade had fled with 2 children. The movie concludes with the guard informing Michele's mother that Natasha is somewhere in Morocco, hinting at a potential sequel. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notification for more movie recaps.